Welcome back to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us from Austin, Texas. We have Evelyn Jackson. How's it going today?
It's great. It's going awesome over here. I slept in, so you're getting a bright and early awake self.
Hey, that works. I wish I would have slept in, but I was watching a movie last night and I fell asleep on my couch.
Oh,
And so I woke up at like 6:30. I was like, I should probably just go lay down in my bed, but it's 6:30. So if I do that, I may not get up in time. So I'm up.
yep.
Let's do this. So I've been
Let's
up for a little bit. You get a well lubricated Tom.
nice.
Sweet.
Ready for it.
Sweet. So excited to have you on, excited to chat a little bit. It's actually rarer than I thought it would be having musicians from Central Texas on the podcast. You know, like we've been doing this for a really long time, and that the collection of artists from the area is actually not quite as big as I thought it would be, but excited nonetheless.
Awesome. That's such an interesting take. I know the Austin community is so big,
Mm.
but you're right. A lot of them are traveling bands sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
places from out of town. But no, I'm a Central Texan, true and true. I've been here my whole life. So
Nice. That's really awesome. So growing up in Central Texas, what was it like for you growing up here?
Um, I mean, I think when you grow up in Texas, it's so large. And I mean, unless you have the, wonderful opportunity to have a family that takes you outside of Texas, Texas kind of just feels like this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up in lots of the different, cities in
Mm.
Central Texas. I've spent time in San Antonio, Austin, Waco, down south, Brownsville, everything
Nice.
like that. So I know not central, but yeah, growing up in Texas, I just, there was always the like Texan, a little bit country. Um, I don't know. It was nice. I loved it. Once I got outside of Texas, I realized how many amazing things are not just located in Texas. And that was a great eye opener for myself. But Texas will always be home for me. So
For sure. I feel like it's that way with a lot of people that live in an area that are predominantly known for one thing. Like Texas is very well known for like Dallas, Houston, Austin, that stuff. And then like I grew up in around Chicago, and I thought Chicago had everything I needed. You know, just kind of grew up in that same mindset where it's like, oh, Chicago's all there is. You know, up until I was in like fourth or fifth grade, I thought Chicago was just the state. When people would ask me what state I lived in, I would just say I live in Chicago. I just thought, I thought Chicago was its own thing. And once I kind of stepped outside, I was like, no, there's a lot more going on out there. That's very interesting.
yes, absolutely.
So
Gotta step out, guys.
right, 100%. I guess that's the whole point of that little part of the conversation. So growing up in Central Texas, who was kind of your influence with music? Who introduced you to music? Was it your family or just kind of something you fell into?
Yeah, no, I did. Well, I fell into it by being born into it, quite literally. I have 5 siblings. They're all older than me. The oldest being 18 years older than me. So I was born into a full group, right? And they all play instruments, sing. Most of them have written their own songs as well. And everyone has at some point either been in a band or done something with their musicality as far as their career. Maybe not long term, but at least at some point, right?
Yeah.
And then my dad was actually a music major in college, and so he didn't really do much to teach us like music theory and that sort of stuff. I don't think he was wanting to like project that onto us being little, but he did just have a great taste in music and always had music playing in the house. And then my mom was the same way, lover of music, like played the piano, read music better than I ever will, would sing, but she just did it personally. It was just love. So yeah, I think my life just had a soundtrack behind it.
Nice.
And I had a bunch of people shoving instruments in my hands and saying, here, try this. So
Right. Hey, that's always cool. Like you have all this influence around you and you just kind of stuck to it, you know. So maybe a little bit took it a little bit more serious than some of your siblings. Maybe like I don't know the whole dynamic there, but just kind of taking these opportunities as they were handed to you and just running with it. That's really cool. Um,
right.
so the music that your dad would play, what kind of music was he usually playing around the house?
So this is actually an interesting story in of itself. So my dad, Central Texas, grew up a preacher's daughter.
Mm,
And I was listening to like old, probably never been heard of 60s, 70s, and 80s Christian like blues
okay.
and alternative rock. Um, it was great music. Like if I go back and compare the musicality,
Mhm.
I mean, I love the lyrics too. They're my own, faith-based things, but just comparing the music specifically, I'm like, this is great. Like they were awesome. But I think that was mostly just his, ear for music. Like he sought out what he wanted to listen to, and that was what he wanted to listen to. And then as I got a little bit older, my brothers were trying to, of course, branch out from that sort of stuff. And they found a lot of like 90s, like grungy rock Christian music, that they loved that. But it actually really wasn't until I got a little bit older, I think, high school years or so, that I started being like, okay, now let me go like discover music for
Mm,
myself and see like what my taste is. But
mm,
that's kind of what I grew up on. And I think it's interesting, and I think it probably comes out in my kind of like genre of
yeah.
songwriting, where it's like this doesn't like super fit into one
Mm.
specific thing all the time, but there's a lot of influences there for sure.
For sure, for sure. It's and having listened to the SoundCloud, the song that you have up on your SoundCloud right now, it's a really cool song. You can definitely pick up a lot of different influences off of that. So
Thanks. Thank you.
um as you were kind of starting to make that journey into your own music, what was kind of that process like? How did you who were you listening to? Like you'd mentioned that you had all the influences from your dad. Who were some of those bands that you were listening to as you kind of decided to make that transition into writing your music?
Right. So I think so. I guess the timeline is probably like 15-ish years ago now.
Okay.
So this is the first kind of bands that I was like, oh, I love that, and just like clung on to them and started listening to like the songwriting and everything with them. And then when that was around the time I started writing songs, um, One Republic was huge for me. I loved them. They were top notch. Coldplay was also one of them. John Mayer was another. Um, Brandy Carlisle, I'm trying to remember if it was then or a few years later that I
Mm,
discovered her, but oh my gosh, her like not fully country, kind of Americana. And then growing up here in Texas, I also listened to a lot of um, pure country.
mm,
So like the older stuff,
mhm.
not old, but 90s
Yeah,
straight, Alan Jackson, that style
yeah.
of country I loved a lot, until it went haywire, jumped off the deep end.
Right. Fair,
But
very fair.
no, I'm kidding. Sorry, country people.
Yeah, it's
Um,
all good.
but yeah, so those were kind of the people I would say more in the things that I just attached to and love, like One Republic, Coldplay, and John Mayer might have been like top three for me
Mhm,
in that time period. I mean, I
mhm,
started progressing, but in that time period that I started writing songs, which I think was your question, that's
mm.
what I'm listening to. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Were you so you weren't listening to a whole lot of like the Texas Red Dirt stuff, or was that just kind of always there?
Um, it's so that happened because one of my brothers just became very, very into country, and
Mhm.
he is 4 years older than me, and he had a car. And so we would go everywhere
Sure.
together. And in order for me to get somewhere, I would go with him and hang out with his friends, and everyone was listening to country. So, I mean, I attached to some of those country songs and I love them. I love,
Mm,
the musicality and the storytelling. I think that might have been where I got the most influence of storytelling within my
mm,
songs. My songs very much, most of the time, tell a story from beginning to end. Um, and that song structure, that writing pattern, I think
mm.
came a lot maybe from the country, and then the kind of like play on words and metaphoric stuff came probably more from the like alternative
Yeah,
rock stuff, and the musicality itself probably from, I mean, all of it, I'm sure. So
for sure, for sure, for sure. Um, so kind of look. So where does kind of Baylor fit into this? How long ago did you go to Baylor? Were you playing music? I mean, yeah.
yeah, so I was not playing music.
Mm,
um at that point, my songwriting was just for me,
mm.
and it was one of those, pipe dreams, or like you think, oh, that, I mean, that's cool, but that's not achievable. I need to go to college, like that sort of.
Yeah.
And so I had a small catalog of songs I had written, and they were just mine. I showed people sometimes, but then I went off to college. I'm a kind of academic at heart. I
Mm,
love school, which not everyone does. I do. I really wanted to get into a bigger 4-year university, and that was just one of my academic goals at the time. And I'm also a procrastinator, so I applied to 2 places. I applied to UT and I applied to Baylor, and well, you can see which one let me in. So
yeah.
yeah, so I ended up going there, and I was actually born in Waco. So I
Mm,
was born and did a lot of time
mm,
in Waco as a young child. So it was comfortable for me. It was like going home a little bit. I had family that could support me there. So
nice.
I went there, but it was as a studio art major. So I have a BFA, a
Mm,
bachelor's degree in photography and studio art
nice.
uh, from there. Music still not really on my mind until the next year. I
Mm,
was playing around town in Waco, or not playing around town. I'm sorry, working in
yeah.
Waco. It's like a waitress. And someone from a music store, his name is Calvin Ross, he owns Lone Star Music, um there in Waco, and just started chatting with me, and
Mm,
I told him I wrote songs, and he was like, well, come by the music store, like, let's play. And that
mm.
kind of began, me playing live.
Yeah, for sure. Waco, I'm sure even since you've been here, like even since you went to school here, it's changed so like even in the 4 years I've been here, I moved here in about almost exactly 4 years ago, and just in those 4 years, it's like, wow, I hardly recognize this place sometimes because it's changed so much since I first moved here.
Absolutely. And for me, I forgot you asked me the timeline for that.
Mm,
For me, that was 2012 when I
okay.
moved there for the first time. Or, moved there for myself and not for
Yeah.
my moving me there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 2012, and I stayed there till first couple months of 2017, and I
Okay.
moved back. Mhm.
And that was to go to school at Baylor, and then eventually you'd go down to UTA or
No, no, UT, like UT Austin.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I actually, there was a couple years of a break between
Okay.
then. So I came back home, and I tried a lot to kind of get my own businesses running, and
Mm,
you're just after college, you're trying to figure out what
yeah.
what to do. And I was not liking the timeline with funds. I actually decided to go back to school, but for something completely different. So I actually have an RN license. I'm an emergency and trauma nurse, and I got my master's degree in nursing from UT. And that took a lot of time away. I wasn't really doing music past that
Mm,
time, except for writing. So
yeah.
I mean, writing is always for me.
Yeah.
I do it at home. I'm going to continue to do it no matter what happens in my life. So, throughout that time at Baylor and at UT, I was just assembling this huge catalog of songs. I think I
Nice.
have like 40 songs,
Nice.
plenty for a couple albums. and just not recorded, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So throughout this time, you're just and that's kind of where I was trying to get like a timeline nailed, like not nailed down, but just kind of like a rough timeline of when all this was happening. Because as you're sitting there writing music, and you're just kind of music's there, but it's not. I don't want to say it's not serious, but it's just not at the forefront of your mind as an opportunity to I maybe not make a living off of it. Is that kind of where your mindset was, or?
That's really where it stemmed from. If someone had come and told me you can make a living doing this tomorrow,
Mhm.
I would have easily walked away from everything else I was doing.
Okay.
Um, but I have a family to support. I mean, I
Mm.
have 3 kids to support, and so I think it's not an option for me to
Mm.
be like broke musician all the
Yeah,
time.
fair, fair,
I mean,
fair.
it's great, and I probably would have chosen to do that had different, life circumstances been
Mm.
been different, but they weren't. And so I had to make a decision between, being passionate about the thing that I was doing,
Mm. Yeah.
or actually providing. The great thing is that I'm actually extremely in love with being a nurse. Like
Mm.
it's not it was an easy second choice. It was
Mhm.
absolutely something that I would have wanted to do in a different life or something. But yeah, no, once I realized after nursing for a few years, continuing to write songs, and I went through a divorce. And so I had a lot to write about.
Yeah.
I'll just
Fair.
put it that way. And like songs were just coming,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all of this? And I forever have wanted my music to be something, and to just create it. I mean, I don't even need it to become anything. I just want it to be down there and recorded so I don't lose it, because this is like it's like my journal, if you
Mm.
go through, um, especially the way I'm going to assemble my next album, you're going to
Mm.
just there you go. It's me writing out my life, for you. So, so yeah, I just wanted it to be, out there. And so, finally I was like, you know what? I got to like get more serious about this. Let's do
Yes.
this.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're gonna find as you approach like the release of this album and all that stuff, it's gonna be very therapeutic. Just like I've seen a lot of people that have been holding on to music for so long that they just kind of release it and they feel so much better about whatever the situation was. And it's like, even if the album doesn't go 100 times multi-plat, like whatever it is,
Right.
at least you have this thing that you said, I dedicated my time to it, I got it out there, people listened to it, people liked it, and it's out there, you accomplished a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also know from my time, so I loved art
Mhm.
too, sitting like literally in front of my easel at home. But um and I went and majored in it, and it became a grade, and it became how I would make my living, and it became something I was married to have to do
Mm.
all the time in order to make a living. And it became exhausting, and I don't make as much art as I feel like, and I'm talking about physical art,
Mhm.
not, music,
Yeah.
but I don't make as much art as I feel like I would have, if I hadn't had that experience with it. So I like to be very grateful for this opportunity that I have with music, where it's not how I'm making my livelihood right
Mm.
now, or not fully, I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
it's not my only source of livelihood. And I can really just dedicate my extra time, my like beloved spare time, to do what I love to do. And I think
Mhm.
that that is, I'm grateful to have that experience with it, instead of the experience where I'm like, if I don't do this tomorrow,
Yeah.
the anxiety, like if this doesn't work out for me.
Right. For sure, for sure. It's got to be. Actually, I'm going to just ask this question in general. How do you kind of balance that time between family, work, music, and then everything else? Is it obviously it's got to be tough, right?
It is, and I don't have the time sometimes to do the things that I really would need to do on a
Mhm.
checklist of if I was going from like 0 to 100%. Like
Mm.
for instance, I unfortunately cannot go hit up every single open mic night that I
Sure.
ever see, and some nights that would be available to book, I'm so sorry, I'm
Mm.
not available for that time frame. And then even just, with having
Mm.
children, when they're with me,
Mhm.
just sitting down to practice and to let your mind free flow through creativity
Yeah.
is a little bit hard, when
Yeah.
you've got mama, mama, mama,
Mm.
all the time behind you. So the way that I try to balance the most of it is very compartmentalization. I mean, when I'm at work, it's 12-hour shifts
Mhm.
and 36 hours a week. So I'm blessed with that because it's not a 9 to 5 where I'm spending
Yeah.
my daily thing with it. But when I'm at work, I am doing work. I'm going 100% trying
Mm.
to make sure that I do my job well.
Yeah.
When I shift into mom mode, I shift into mom mode and I, get those things done. And then when I finally get my time alone, because music energizes me,
Mhm.
it's easy for me to then be like, okay, let's open up my music checklist. Like, let's
Mhm.
see what we have to do. So like just today, it's going to be a music day. I'm going to
Right.
be, doing things I need to get done off the list. So
Fair, fair. It's really, I'm glad that we were able to make time to sit down and do this, because now knowing all that, it's like it's always worrisome about finding time, like just finding time in general, because everybody's so busy all the time. And I appreciate you for taking the time to sit down and chat with me a little bit. So
yeah, of course.
so you've got a new song coming out, you said next month, correct?
October 6th,
Yeah. Uh
official release date, October 6th. Yeah.
what's the kind of the background on this song?
So this song was, it was just written maybe a year ago, maybe not even, or maybe not even, maybe like 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Um, it's just kind of an internal dialogue of being, your thoughts that are like within a relationship when you like want it to
Mhm.
be, but it can't be,
Yeah.
and like what are the thoughts running through your mind at night when you're laying down of like, am I going to keep doing this even though
Mhm.
it's not right? Or if I walk away, but then I'm going to be sad, but then I'm going to miss the person, but then I need to because I can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
That whole dialogue, I wrote it in a song.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
in a song. So that is what the single is pretty much about. And I liked this one. It was one of the ones that I play with my other band, the Telltales, when we play
Mhm.
live. And it was just always such fun energy to play on stage.
Nice.
And people had a good reception to it. Like it was always something that people enjoyed or would come up afterwards, be like, I like that song.
For
And I'm
sure.
like, let's just put it out. It got to a point where like booking here in Austin, or just when you come to your professional resume as an artist, you really need to get like something out there. Like
Mhm.
I have 20 songs, but I can't send a bunch of voice. I mean, I know I can, but I don't want to send my voice memos, which I have tons of, but I just
Mhm.
don't send it in that form. I want them to be able to open up a link to my
Mm.
EPK and my music be there on Spotify. So this was just like the next natural step, and I'm super excited to put it out and for everyone to hear it, and put some vulnerable lyrics out there on the big web. So
For sure, for sure. I'm excited for everyone to hear it. Wait, this is obviously a part of the bigger EP, or not EP, full length album, right?
yes,
Okay.
so it will appear on the album. Um, I have kind of some special plans at my
Mhm.
sleeve for how it's going to appear on the album, because this one it will be its own
Mhm.
standalone single version, like within Spotify and streaming services. And then the next release, which I'm hoping will be very soon as well, will kind of be the first song off the album, and it'll go from there. And then, but this single will pop up again. It'll pop up again. I
Oh,
got plans. I got big plans.
nice. That's really cool. I dig it. Oh, since you brought up the Telltales, what is that project all about, and how did that kind of get started?
Yeah, so the Telltales, okay, let's go back a little bit from my timeline. Back in Waco, I started playing live for the first time. Every Saturday night or
Mhm.
something, I was playing live. And then my best friend at the time from college was there. She actually never went to a single one of my live shows because we were 21 yet. So
Mhm.
I was playing, but she couldn't get into the bars I was playing at. Um, and so we would come home at night and I would be practicing and stuff, and she would sing with me, and it just became kind of therapeutic. Like we'd spend hours and hours in the art studio and we'd just turn on music and sing to it, and then we'd go to play on this little baby grand piano in the community center and sing to it, and that just became something that we did.
Mhm.
So then fast forward 10 years. I mean, now it's like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
She or three-ish, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but she time flies.
Yeah.
She started playing on open mics with her ukulele like a few years ago, and just fell in love with it. And she's an amazing writer as well. And so she just hit the ground running, writing songs and doing her own project called Jen Fragonard and the Fragonards. It's over
Mhm.
in based out of Monterey. And I was over there visiting one time and she's like, you got to come out to these open mics. Like you should be doing this too. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go do it. That would be fun. And we went home just on energy high
Mhm.
I guess. And ended up writing a song together. So that was like 2 years ago now, I think
Yes.
is correct. And then, a year passes by, I come home, nothing happens. And we're there for another visit.
Mhm.
And we're just over December break or something, and she just like, I don't know which one of us said it, but one of us was just like, why haven't we made a band? Like her band has started to pick up and
Mhm.
become more successful in the Monterey area, and I just was over here, diddle daddling, not
Yeah.
really doing anything. She's like, why haven't we done this? I don't know why we
Yeah.
haven't done this. Um, so we formed the Telltales. The Telltales, she gets on to me for how I say it because I'm from Texas, but yeah. So comprised of the duo Jen Fragonard and
Mhm.
Evelyn Jackson. The way it's set up is that it is all original music. Sometimes it's my personal original music performed by us. Sometimes it's her personal music
Mhm.
performed by us. And then sometimes it's our original music that we've written together.
Nice.
Um, or allocated to the Telltales itself. And so we'll do what we consider mini tours, where we
Nice.
go to one location or a approximate location
Mhm.
and book like 4 or 5 shows within a week. And we're trying to do that 3 or 4 times a year. The next time is actually going to be here in Texas, and it's going to
Nice.
be in December. Um, so we're super excited about that. It'll be the first time for the Telltales playing in the Austin live music scene. So we are happy about that. And we are actually trying to book a show in Waco. So if people are listening and you want the Telltales, we are there for you.
Sweet. That's really cool. I kind of like how it's set up because you each got your own individual thing. And then when you come together, it's like, oh, hey, it's not just two musicians that are just playing together. We've got our own little standalone thing. And you've got your own original. So it's really cool how you kind of
Yeah.
conceptualize the idea for the band.
It's very cool, and it becomes a very cool vibe
Mhm.
because one of the like quintessential Telltale's sound is the fact that we harmonize
Mm.
most of our songs. Sometimes we harmonize the entire song,
Mhm.
and it causes a different feel than an original that has no harmonization on it. That's
Right.
just how it works. And we're also multi-instrumentalists, both of us. And so we're constantly just hopping around on stage. I'll play piano and she'll play ukulele, and then she'll play ukulele and I'll play guitar, and then I'll play guitar and she'll play piano. And it's just it's a fun live show and a fun vibe, and also just like the greatest honor in the world to be playing with my best friend who understands my mind, you know?
For
So
sure, for sure. It's always really cool to kind of have that other person that's just kind of get it seems to get you, you know.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, so with everything kind of going on right now, you've got the tour or the kind of mini tour with the Telltales kind of in the works. I'm assuming you said you're still trying to book out a couple of shows with that,
I
or
am, yeah. So Austin, I think we have gotten booked, although we're always open, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
But we are trying to book a show in Waco because we
Mm.
thought it would be really cool to go back. I mean, we both went to Baylor. We spent 5 years in Waco, but the scene has changed a lot. We don't know
Mm.
as many people as we used to. So hey, hit us up, you know, going
Yeah.
back home feel good.
Yeah, for sure. I'll see. I'll look through my catalog of things and I'll see if I can help get you in contact with a few people.
Thank you. That'd be
So,
great.
um, but kind of looking forward, as you're approaching this tour, the release of your album, the release of the single, what's kind of running through your mind right now?
Oh, well, I do have a checklist, like I talked about before. I think I'm just trying to take it in steps. I do a little bit each day as far as marketing, reaching out to people, you know, creative, just
Hmm.
sitting down and writing a
Yeah.
song, you know, that sort of thing. I try to, you know, do short little spurts so there's not long times that I go without working on it. The next big thing is honestly my album
Hmm.
drop date. So, um, you know, it was a first time for me figuring out
Right.
playlisting and submitting and, you know, being doing this thing that is, you know, independent music. It's a business,
Hmm.
you know, it's not for the faint of heart. So I have a lot of that running through my mind right now, which is kind of great because when I have a goal like that I need to do, I get really procrastinating and I write a bunch of music. It
Hmm.
like like my brain gets into creative hyper mode trying to ignore like all the things I have to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I've written a bunch of songs in the last week just because I'm busy.
Nice.
Um,
I,
but
I I do like the fact that you've come to one realization that a lot of musicians don't seem to come to is the fact that it is a business. And once you kind of uh put that in the forefront of your mind, it changes everything for you.
it's so much a business. And
Mhm.
it's like if you don't have the tools and the resources or the ability to run a business, go find a friend that does. Like
Mhm.
if that's not your strong suit, you're not going to be able to get by just saying, well, that's not my strong suit, so I'm not going to focus on that.
Right.
I'm sorry, that's not an option. If you're an
Mhm.
independent artist, you're not going to be able to do it. Um, you know, you got to outsource to people that
Mm.
will help you, or, you know, I'm super grateful because I have a background in graphic
Mhm.
design, photography, and marketing and web design, and all of the things that typically are a lot of money out of pocket.
Right.
And when I went to my nursing degree, it was actually for a leadership and management degree, but it's like getting a little mini MBA
Mhm.
for nursing, basically. So I have a lot of tools and I have a lot of resources, and I try to remain very like grateful and aware that I have those tools for myself to make checklists and
Mm.
run the business the way it's supposed to be ran, or you know, attempt to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to encourage like every artist, if you're just starting out, just go seek some advice from people that know what they're doing, and then count it all up and see what you're capable of doing or you feel comfortable doing, and not just capable of doing, but capable of doing well.
Mhm.
And if you can't do those things and you want your music to go places and work, then find friends, like make friends, make connections, trade skills, like do what you got to do to make sure that you know business is ran well. It has to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's so true. Um so as obviously with everything kind of going on, free time is like not really an option right now. But when you do have that free time, what are some of your hobbies outside of music and work and stuff? Like what do you do to decompress?
Hmm. Oh, okay. Well, Let's see. Decompression. I'm not gonna lie. I love naps. It's like everyone's like, I go hiking, I work out. I do those things. I
Hmm.
love those things. But if I'm really trying for a decompression,
Hmm.
I'm a napping queen. I do it. Um, but I really actually I used to do just very random FYI fact. I used to do acro yoga
Mm.
and fitness and CrossFit and working out. And that is something that I think clears my mind a lot. And it's good to work on, all different spectrums like mind, body, spirit, soul. Let's do it
Yeah.
all. But I actually will say that I think I have a unique perspective on this because my job works one side of my brain. It
Hmm.
is, medical. It is, very precise. You have
Mm.
to, there's not, you can't just lovingly make an accident in
Yeah.
nursing, right? Like you are on all the time.
Hmm.
Your brain is on, tons of little details. You basically speak a different language. So actually music is kind of a decompression for me
Mm.
because that is the job that I have to do to maintain my license and, maintain my career
Hmm.
in that field. And so then able to go straight to music, it's like, oh, this is a whole different side of my brain. I can shred on the guitar and mess up every note and it's fine. And I'm just creating art.
Yeah,
So I think that kind of dichotomy in my life helps me because I have those two outlets. Yeah.
for sure. I think that's you just opened my mind to what my problem is. I'm working too much on one side of my brain. Like everything I do is circled around being creative. And when I come home, like, so I work for a TV station. I work for the ABC affiliate here in town, and I make like local commercials and all that stuff. So it's just like creative, creative, creative. And then I come home and do live and amplified, and it's like more creative, creative, creative.
Right.
Maybe I need to find something that doesn't take creative energy. I don't know. So
100%. I'm going to tell you, when I sit down with my free time and I
mhm,
decide I'm going to be creative and
mhm,
write a song,
yeah.
it does not always flow. And I'm a writer. I write. Like I'll
Yeah.
write all the time. But if I decide I'm gonna write, it might not happen that day. But some of the best like songs that I've written recently, or I mean, I say best, I mean the
Mm,
best to me, the most like deep and full-bodied songs or whatever. It's because I've been my mind shut off because I'm doing something else. I'm doing something that is, just working this other side of my brain. And as I'm doing this, because I'm not like actively thinking about
mhm,
creativity, I feel like it just starts to flow.
nice.
And so I get these thoughts in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, that would be a good lyric line. Okay, let me write that down on my like my notes
Mhm,
so that I can go address it once I'm done with this like task, like left brain or right brain oriented task or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah,
So
fair.
yeah.
Oh man, I think that's what I need to do. You've just convinced me. I need to go find something that is more uh not creative. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Just
Um so kind of looking at the grand scheme of things, you've got the single coming out in October 6th. You said you got the upcoming album, and then you got the tour. So things are obviously staying very busy, very, very. I don't want to use the word hectic because that's not correct, but just you're staying very busy, which is cool. How often are you playing shows? Obviously, you got the tour with Telltales coming up, but like how often are you finding your time to get out and play shows?
Yeah, so I don't have any shows for the rest of September because I very much tried to not book anything for
Mhm,
September because I knew I was going into the studio at the beginning of the month. I was doing this at the end of the month. There's like some things that I had planned out. Mostly everything that I did for September was
mhm,
in preparation to get my single out smoothly
mhm.
in October.
Okay.
But then I started, being like, okay, well, October though,
Yeah.
October, though, don't forget. So I actually, it's coming out to about once a week, if not a little less. So I have, a show like at the community gardens here in Bastrop on one day, and I have indie brewing with Jeremiah Jackson in
Nice.
Austin. And then on the 27th of October is actually going to be our single release
Nice.
party at the Sound Space at Captain Quack's in Austin. And so that's kind of the next big step after the single release, is then preparing for this single release party show. And we have some great people playing with us, the Soul Sirens, which are this like really cool girl duo, or woman, I'm sorry, woman duo from Austin with these beautiful harmonies. And then a band who's been playing around Austin for a long time called the Soapboxers. And so they're gonna start things out for us, and we're gonna try to have a party, but that's on October 27th.
Nice.
So there's about 3 in October, and then, you know, we'll go from there.
That's cool. That's cool. It's I like this time of year because it seems like everything starts picking up for everyone, because it's not too hot to be outside, and
Yeah.
you know, because I sit there and it's like, man, it's just so hot outside. I don't like going to shows during the summer, but then like the summer is such a long period, but like right now it's like the perfect time to be out there.
Perfect time. And, you know, the perfect time for like these really cool spaces, have this cool stage outside, and like everyone's usually hanging out. You go in the summer, there's like 2 people there and like a sweaty dog, and like that's like all your audience right there, and then you're sweating.
Yeah, you're sitting there trying not to dehydrate and all that stuff. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
I 100% get it. Oh, so one thing that I want to do here before we wrap everything up is we play a fun little game with everybody that comes on. It's called That's So Random.
Okay.
And I have a random question generator, and I'm going to just ask you 3 random questions.
All right, let's go for it.
What is your best habit and what is your worst habit?
Ooh. My worst habit is that I cannot schedule things to save my life. Like I can, but I can't stick to it. I'm the most breezy person there is. I change my schedule 10 times a day. My best habit. That's a good one. I'm so woefully unprepared for these questions.
That's kind of the point. There's supposed to
My
be.
best habit is that I practice my skill every single day.
Fair. Awesome. What was the last movie you walked out of in the middle of?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever done that.
Really?
I've never walked out of a movie theater. I think it's mostly me just being cheap, like I paid for it. So
Fair. Very fair.
But, the last movie I quit was this weird like vampire movie. I don't know. I remember watching it and this being like, why did I turn this on?
Fair.
And then I turned it off. So
Fair. I think there's only one movie I ever just stopped, or I didn't walk out in the middle of the theater because I knew it was going to be bad. So I didn't even go to the theater to watch it. Was that Doom movie with The Rock? Like he recreated Doom.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I stopped. I started watching it in like 20 minutes in. I was like,
Yeah.
yep, I'm good.
I have a joke about The Rock. You know how like every time I see him, I'm like, is this the same movie he just he's literally playing the same character. He's been cast as the same character for like 15 years. No.
And then what is your Whataburger order?
Ooh, what time of day? What time of day are we?
When do you usually go to Whataburger? I guess it's
the only time I go to Whataburger is 3 a.m.
Okay.
You can imagine what I would be doing after 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I get a honey butter chicken biscuit and I ask them to put extra sauce on it.
Nice.
And a large orange juice. And then it's the best thing in the entire world. Quick fact though, if you order that in a different mindset at a different time of the day, it doesn't really taste as good. I found that out the other day. I was craving one so bad. And I was like, you know what's always the best thing I've ever had in my life? Honey butter chicken biscuit. Yeah. And then I go and I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, this does not hit this is does not hit the same. So keep it a 3 a.m. Whataburger visit.
For sure. Everybody keeps telling me to go get one, but it's like I'll go to Whataburger for like lunch. And usually the only reason I won't go for breakfast is because I'm running so late to work that it's like trying to sit through that Whataburger line.
Oh yeah, no, you got to go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
If you're headed somewhere, it's got to be a Chick-fil-A breakfast because
Yeah.
they'll get you in out in 5 minutes, and they've got the little minis. Like, yeah, can't
Yeah.
do Whataburger
Yeah.
for 5 minutes.
But your opinion about the honey butter chicken biscuit is the same thing I have about White Castle. I
Oh,
I don't. Do they even have White Castle here in
so
Texas?
I want to say that the I might be getting this wrong, but I think that the southernmost White Castle is either Dallas or like
Mm.
Waxahachie,
Oh
maybe.
yeah,
I don't think they have one in Waco.
yeah. So I grew up in Chicago, and so there was White Castles on every corner. And every night after hanging out with my friends, we'll say it was always going to White Castle because it was right there, and there was never anybody in the drive-through, and it was like cool for $6 I could get 10 burgers and a fry, and we're good. So
Right. And that's 100% the thing with Whataburger, except though you go there, it's 3 a.m. There's only one person in the parking lot. So you think I'm going to be in and out, and you still wait 30 minutes.
mhm.
And it's okay because you're on a journey at that point. You're on
Yeah,
an adventure. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. I Everybody that's not ever been to Texas is like, what's Whataburger right now? So it's but I do enjoy like eating, going there for lunch every once in a while. It's not a place that I go to frequently, but it's a good hang for lunch. So
it is. It can be. It's good.
yeah.
It's good sometimes.
So I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. If anybody wants to check out any of your music, any of your shows, just interact with you on social, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so I am working on getting up a website, but that is not the best place right now. So as of this exact moment, the best, most active platform of mine is going to be Instagram.
Mhm.
So it's going to be at its.evelyn.jackson. So its.evelyn.jackson. And through there, I have Linktree on my profile for a SoundCloud tune, the one you were talking
Mm.
about. There's a link now to pre-save my upcoming single, This Isn't Love. So we do rely on the support of fans in order to get our singles out there, and the algorithm is consistently working against us, so those pre-saves are extremely important. So that's on there, and then as soon as that drops, you'll be able to listen through there as well. And if you stay consistently on my socials, I will be putting out, when my website gets up, when things get up and running. And, if you also just want to see me just interacting ridiculously throughout the day, that's all on my stories. So that's the best place to follow me and see my life a little bit. Hear
Nice.
my
Awesome, awesome. I just pre-saved This Isn't Love, and I'll put the for anybody that's listening, I'll put the pre-save link down in the description below. If you're listening on Spotify or on YouTube, it's in the description. So feel free to give This Isn't Love a pre-save for Evelyn Jackson. And once again, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. It's been an absolute blast. If you get that show here in Waco, I will definitely have to go check it out, or I'll be down in Austin or through Austin several times over the next month and a half. So try and catch something there as well. But once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Really appreciate it. And we will talk to y'all later.